Greetings, loved ones. If you have just discovered that your child, or a child you care about, has been sexually abused, it may feel as if your world is falling apart. But there is hope. Other caring adults have been where you are. Today we continue our series on caring for sexually abused children. And today we're going to discuss the effect of intrafamilial sexual abuse on the family. Help us get these messages out. Please subscribe to our channel. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Hit the like button and the notification bell, and please share these messages with others. You could save a life. So what is the effect of intrafamilial sexual abuse on the family? Sexual abuse of a child made by a trusted adult also puts tremendous strain on relationships within the family. Some family members may find it hard to believe the abuser could do such a thing and take sides or feel pressured to take sides over who is telling the truth. Family members may also struggle with how to manage their divided loyalties toward the abuser and the victim. And even in families that accept that the abuse occurred, reactions to the abuser may run from the gamut from lock them up and throw away the key to hate the sin but love the sinner. Tensions may arise when different family members have different opinions about loyalty and fairness, justice and forgiveness, and responsibility. If you are a mother whose child has been abused by a spouse or boyfriend, it can take a great deal of courage to stand up for your child. Some of the challenges you may face include dealing with family members who don't believe the abuse occurred or who continue to maintain their relationship with the abuser. Another challenge is the possibility of economic hardship if you are financially dependent on the abuser. And then there's the possible loss of friends and acquaintances when they learn your partner is a child abuser. Then there's also making sense of conflicting advice from friends and family or religious leaders who may think you should forgive the aggressor, and child protection and legal authorities who expect you to end your involvement with the aggressor. For many mothers, the greatest challenge is dealing with their own reaction to the child's disclosure. If your child tells you that he or she has been sexually abused, your response can play a powerful role in his or her process of healing from the abuse. So let's talk about echoes of past pain. For much of human history, children who reviewed sexual abuse were rarely believed or supported. Children who disclosed abuse faced negative reactions ranging from being told to keep quiet or forget about the abuse to being berated or punished for telling lies. In addition to suffering from the effects of abuse itself, such children grew up feeling betrayed and abandoned by the people who should have protected them. If you are a survivor of child sexual abuse, the discovery that your own child has been abused, especially by a family member, can bring up a host of painful and unresolved feelings and memories. Getting yourself help is an important part of being able to provide support for your child. You can contact the Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network, that's RAIN, at 1-800-656-HOPE, or go to their website, www.rainn.org, for help in finding support in your area, and we'll include this in the description. So now let's discuss coping with your own reactions. Your initial reactions to the disclosure of sexual abuse by a family member may include shock, rage, confusion, denial, and disbelief. If you yourself were a victim of sexual abuse as a child, this disclosure may stir up even stronger reactions and confusion. So don't be surprised if you go through a painful period of doubting your child, particularly if the abuser is someone you love or depend on, such as a spouse, boyfriend, or grandparent. Because the abuser is almost certain to deny the abuse, you may find yourself in the difficult position of having to decide which family member is telling the truth and having to weigh the consequences of believing one over the other. For many parents, it is relatively easy to believe that abuse has occurred when the victim is a very young child. But when the victim is an adolescent, many parents find themselves doubting the truth of what their child has told them. Adolescence is a rocky time for parents and children alike, when tensions run high and tempers flare. Sadly, Adolescents who have been sexually abused are even more likely to exhibit the kinds of behavior problems that lead to tension, resentment, and miscommunication. If your child is an adolescent, you may find yourself wondering if he or she was in some way responsible for the abuse. You may wonder whether he or she could have resisted or question why it took so long for them to tell you. If your child disclosed the abuse to someone else, such as a teacher or friend, you may also be dealing with feelings of confusion and anger and guilt about their not confiding in you. And if the abuser is your spouse or partner, you may even find yourself being betrayed, as if your partner and child were cheating on you. As painful as these reactions can be, they're not unusual, and working through your doubts and fears will be critical not only to your child's recovery, but to your own. It is important to remember that power takes many forms, and that your adolescent may have felt coerced in ways that were not directly physical. For example, if your partner is in a position of power and has control over financial resources, over disciplining the adolescent, and over your attitude and reactions to your child may have been afraid that rejecting sexual advances or fighting back would only cause more problems in the family. In fact, many aggressors buy their victims' silence through veiled threats or overt threats of all the bad things that could happen if their victims disclose the abuse. So don't let your natural and understandable feelings of confusion and doubt override the fact that the aggressor is always at fault. If in the heat of your own pain and distress you accuse your adolescent of betrayal instead of acknowledging that your child was the victim, they may begin to experience dangerous and potentially damaging self-doubt. And this can be particularly devastating if he or she experienced normal sexual arousal during the abuse, even though it was unwanted and forced. This is not unusual and should not be taken as evidence that the adolescent wanted or was seeking out the abuse. If you're struggling with feelings of anger or betrayal towards your abused child or teen, ask yourself, what would it take for me to, 1, believe my child, 2, not be angry at my child, and 3, not feel betrayed by my child? The answer is often revealing. According to the CDC, over half of all the children in the world, that's 1 billion children ages 2 to 17, experience violence every year. The question is not if you'll encounter a victim of violence. The question before God is, what will you do when you do encounter them? You could be the person who saves a life. Micah 6:8 says, He has showed you, O man, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you? To do justice, love mercy, and walk humbly with your God. You are called. We are all called to be champions for justice. There is a way out. It is not your fault. Abuse is not love. And you, most of all, I want you to know you are not alone. If you are suffering violence, reach out to someone today. If you find yourself in a dangerous situation, call 911 for help. If you know of a child or other person suffering violence, tell the authorities. In our next episode, we're going to continue discussing the effects of intrafamilial sexual abuse on the family. Until then, God bless you.